Hi, Matt with etrailer. Today we're going to be talking about the Hollywood Racks Destination 4 on the 2023 Nissan Rogue. Now this is going to be a great family option. If you have a family and you want to go out riding with them, this is going to be able to accommodate a lot of different bikes on here. Now I will note that it does sit fairly close to our vehicle today. If I put my hand right next to here, I can really only get a finger width underneath our handle. And we have a road bike today with kind of semi-wide handlebars. We tried getting a mountain bike up there, and we were making contact. So if you have any mountain bikes or only mountain bikes, this might be not the option for you. But if you have a road bike or a large bike with more narrow handlebars, then I think you'll do just fine, just as long as you keep that bike closest to your vehicle. Now we're going to have 3 tie-down points. We're going to have one on each tire, and we're going to have this pad and strap right here, and that's going to make our frame contact. Since we are making frame contact, I wouldn't recommend using any alternative frame bikes or carbon frame bikes. Now this does have the ability to kind of slide up and down a bit, so you might be able to accommodate some alternative frame bikes, but not a lot of them. We're also going to have a 40-pound weight capacity, so we won't be able to haul our heavy e-bikes. Now we don't have a tilt-away feature on this, so to access our hatch, we're going to have to take off our bike. To do that, I'm just going to come over here and remove our strap and push this away and behind the tray, so it's a lot easier to get our bike off. I'm going to repeat that same process on this one too. And with this out of the way, I like to maintain frame contact so it doesn't collide with our vehicle. You can even use your elbow to hold it in place and push the strap through. And with that off, we can take off our bike. And all you have to do is lift up and away. And then you can take it for a ride. Now if we take a closer look at our bike rack, you'll see that we have these trays that curve. Having that curve in the trays is also going to help us accommodate different wheelbases. And with that off, one thing I like to do before I open up my hatch, I like to put the center mass down. To do that, all I have to do is turn this knob. And once this loosens up, this is going to let me have the ability to remove this metal hook, and then I can push this down. You might have to rearrange how these pads sit, but once you've moved them, I also like to use a strap to hold this in place so it's not bouncing around on the road. And with that down, we can tilt it up. But before I do that, I'm going to open up our hatch. This is going to be a great option, just in case you need to get any gear from the back of your vehicle, whether that be a helmet, shoes, or anything else along those lines. And now we can shut this back down. As for our measurements of how it's going to sit on the back of our vehicle, from our back bumper to the back of the carrier, it's going to be 36 inches. So that's not going to stick out too far, especially for a 4 bike rack, but it's definitely something to note if you're in any tight spots like a parking spot or garage. As for our ground clearance, it's going to be just about 22.5 inches. So that's going to sit up pretty high, and that's thanks to this rise in the carrier a bit. Now that is going to kind of weigh down some the more bikes you put on here, but it's sitting up high enough that I wouldn't worry about driving up any steep hills. Now if you want to save on some space, you can tilt this up. All you have to do is come over here, and we're going to have this knob, and if we twist that knob, it's going to let us pull this pin through and give us the ability to tilt this forward, and it's going to come very close to our vehicle. So I'd recommend just kind of rearranging these so it doesn't collide with your vehicle, and then you can push this back through and thread it back in. And with it threaded back in, we can take a measurement of how close it's sitting. Now it's only going to sit from the back of our bumper to the back of the carrier, just 9 inches. So that's going to save you a ton of space. As for how it's interacting with the back of our vehicle, it's going to block most of our license plate and most of our backup camera. So you probably won't be able to use that a lot. And we're going to have these sensors on the back here that are probably going to go off with our bike rack on. And our taillights are going to be just partially obstructed, but our back window won't be obstructed. As for how it's going to install in our vehicle today, we're going to have this shank that installs into our 2-inch hitch receiver, and we're going to have this anti-rattle bolt that goes through with this locking core for that extra security. But that will do it for a look at how it sits on here. Overall, I think it's going to be a pretty good fit for our vehicle today if you have the right bikes to accommodate it. Now, if you're looking for something that's still going to be able to fit with this vehicle, and you have a lot of different types of bikes like mountain bikes, I'd actually recommend the Yakima Tilt-A-Way. The Tilt-A-Way is going to be a hanging bike rack, and it's going to be able to hold up to 5 bikes in a very similar weight capacity. The only downfall to that, though, is when it's sitting up here, the wheels aren't going to be strapped in, so they can kind of swing out a bit. What I like to do with that, though, is just tie the wheel off to the frame so it doesn't swing too much. But if you don't want to deal with that, then I think this is going to be a solid option for you. But if you liked everything you saw today, that was just a look at the Hollywood Racks Destination 4 on the 2023 Nissan Rogue.
Now we're going to go ahead and take it on our test course. First we'll start with the slaloms. This is going to show the side-to-side action. It's kind of going to mimic the movements that you'll see whenever you're driving down the road normally. Now we'll have the alternating speed bumps. This is going to be more so like the uneven roads and some of that uneven terrain you might be traveling on, and see how it holds up.